Welcome to Inspiring Possible. I'm Christy Pennison, former stuck person turned therapist and dream consultant. Are you feeling stuck, overwhelmed, uncertain, or just need a little inspiration? Then I want to help you gain the clarity, confidence, and courage to create possibilities and live a life you love. Because, folks, life's too short to be miserable. Welcome back, Inspiring Possible people. I'm so excited that you are back here listening with us today because I think this conversation is one that you will find incredible value with, but it's a conversation that I feel like I always need a reminder about what we're going to talk about today because you can get so caught up in the hustle and bustle of life that it's really hard to slow down and reconnect with yourself, with other people. And I find most of the time, and I don't know about you as a listener, if I'm like really just pushing and pushing and pushing, there normally it normally means that I need some time to kind of just allow myself to lean in and listen to where I'm feeling that I'm supposed to be going. And this is hard because I feel like in today's society, you can be running in a million directions all at once and then getting nowhere. And then sometimes waking up one day and being like, wait, is this really aligned for me with where I'm at? And is this where I feel like I'm supposed to be doing? So, if this is you, if you feel stuck or you're a little bit uncertain about, like, I don't even know what my inner voice would be telling me now, anyways, then you've came to the right place because I have not only an author and a coach, and somebody who has helped people transform their mindset through the Napoleon Hill Institute, which we'll talk about this in a little bit, Kathleen. Remember, this is one of the first books that I read and probably need to reread when I was on my journey of helping me shift my limiting beliefs or things that I held. But anyways, I'm really excited to welcome Kathleen Huebner to the show. And she actually wrote a book and she's also the founder and CEO. And it's the same title. So then you'll be able to remember this, but it's Whispers Within Us. And she's really going to help us maybe look at some things for spiritual and just practical that helps you break free from maybe some fears that you're having and maybe trusting your own intuition. So welcome, Kathleen. So excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So tell me, I'm curious, when did you first read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill?
It was 2022 was the first time I picked it up and read it.
Okay. And how did that transform your kind of maybe what you were doing before to maybe what you're doing now?
Yeah, I had a mentor that I had actually turned me on to it. She worked with Bob Proctor, who was a huge Think and Grow Rich fan. The man would read the book and then start it all over again several times a year. So she turned me on to it, and I read it, and then that led me into getting my transformational mindset coaching certification in 2023 through the Napoleon Hill Institute. So it all just kind of aligned perfectly, but it was during a time of my life when I picked that book up was I was just in a huge transformation, and that was just part of that journey.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you mind sharing, but kind of what led you to the transformation that you were in. I don't know about you, but I find that often, most time that I'm pushed towards transformation, it's normally during periods of discomfort and stuff that I'm going through that's hard. So I'm curious a little bit about your story of what kind of pushed you into just maybe seeking mentorship and then kind of your own journey of like, oh, I really align with this. And I want to learn more to get certified.
Yeah, it was during a time where I got divorced. So yes, very uncomfortable. I call them tower moments to people. Tower moments are times in your life where things happen that are uncomfortable and you just need to work through them to find where your path is leading you. It's usually a redirection by your higher power. They want you to listen. So they like throw this big, heavy thing on you to get you to pay attention. So I was going through my divorce, and that's what led me to finding my mentor. Her program she had through the looking glass kept popping up in my Facebook feed. And I'm like, oh, I just really like that name. That's a fun name. And it just kept coming up. And finally, one day, I'm like, you know what? I want to know more about that. So I signed up with her for a discovery call, which just kind of led me down the rabbit hole of self development. a world that I had never really been in before, and it just opened up so many doors for me and aligned me with the fact that I was going through my divorce. I had so many people reaching out to me, females, just asking me questions because they were contemplating on getting a divorce. They were in a situation where they were in therapy, things like that. And I'm like, okay, there's something out there, which led me to my coaching practice and my first program, which is Mrs. to Miss, just helping.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be someone who's divorced, but it's just helping females that feel lost. I call it drifting. They just don't know where their next step is in their journey. And I just kind of help them dissect their life to figure that out.
Yeah, I really do feel like it's one of those crossroads for a lot of women if they find themselves in that questioning of like, where do I go from here? There's so much identity that it lies with sometimes our relationships. And then you can have so much invested that it's like, oh, well, now I have this way different life that's ahead of me that I did not anticipate or plan for, and now where should I go from here? So I'm assuming that it sounds like through your journey of trying to rediscover what that looked like for you, and you're like, oh, I'm actually feeling very aligned to help other people that may find themselves in the same, I guess, place, figure out how to navigate forward. So I'm curious, what were your biggest takeaways from your time of just reading and going through your own journey? What has helped you get to where you are today? Was it more of the book? Was it just doing your own, I guess, soul searching as you were kind of in this new and uncomfortable, or what did you call it? Power
Up
moment?
top power moment with a T.
Tower moments, tower. Okay, so tower moments to
Yeah.
how to okay, how are we gonna make this tower movement and actually move forward through this?
Yeah. Okay. So before my divorce, I had gone through yoga teacher training. And when I say that to people, they're just like, oh, you do yoga. Well, no, there's more to it, right? So then I went down the Buddhist rabbit hole. I'm a learner. So when I find something, I just kind of can't take it by the reins and I want to know everything. So getting my yoga teacher training, yes, it is about moving your body. It is about breath work. It is about non-judgment. It is about helping others. It's all the things, right? So it's very spiritual. And I just found myself in this place of slowing down, especially with the breath work. And with that, it just led me to listen, which is what I know we're going to talk about it later, but where my book comes in, Whispers Within Us, it slowed me down enough to listen to the whispers around me because everybody gets them, everybody has them. We just don't slow down enough. So for me, that spiritual journey of my yoga teacher training took me into the program with my mentor, took me down the self development rabbit hole just to learn more about myself and how I can be a better person to serve others in the world and help others, which led me to bringing out my program, Mrs. to Miss, to help women kind of find their next step in life, like you said. And it's just been one thing. It's been a journey, but it's all like led me to all the things. And even with Think and Grow Rich, the principles in there you can apply to your everyday life. I mean, that book is timeless. It's not like it was written in the 1920s, but it still matters today. Maybe not some of the wording they use in there because when you read it, sometimes it's kind of hard to read, but like all the principles still apply to everybody's lives today. So with
Yeah.
all things
Okay. Well, and okay, so let's talk a little bit about kind of some of the stuff that you do talk about in the book, but how do we listening, they're like, "Kathleen, this sounds great, like, it's just I'm getting by your journey, but I don't know if I've ever heard anything within me, or I don't even know what a whisper is or even how to listen to those whispers." And so maybe you can help our listeners just kinda start off with a journey of, number 1, what is it? And then how can you learn to tune into it a little bit?
Yeah, I love to use stories for stuff like this because think it helps people resonate a little bit more with what I'm trying to tell them. So for me, the biggest thing was signs and synchronicities. Like I was starting to see signs and I didn't know what they were, but then I started to pick up on them and I would look them up. So, for example, I have a wooded backyard and in my wooded backyard, I keep getting this male and female woodland ducks. Ducks are usually around water. And so I looked it up one day. I wanted to know what is the spiritual meaning of having a male and female woodland duck in my wooded yard. And it'll give you like four different possibilities, right? They'll either all apply in your life, they'll apply in different places in your life, or there's one in there that's really going to resonate with you. Well, that is a sign. That is a whisper. That is my higher power talking to me through seeing those woodland ducks. Some people get audible downloads. I've had only one audible download in my entire life, and that was the name of the book and my coaching business, Whispers Within Us. It literally, I thought somebody was standing like alongside of me on a path I was walking on, and they said it. And I was picking up a feather at the time, and I stood up and I looked around and I heard it again as I was placing the feather by a tree. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know what that is. I don't know why I heard that. And I typed it into my phone and I just left it there. And then 6 months later, I started my coaching business. And I went back and I'm like, what was that I heard on the trail that day? And came out with that Whispers Within Us. So, signs, synchronicities, you hear a song on the radio and it all of a sudden resonates with you for some reason. There's probably some kind of language in that song that your higher power is trying to like tell you. It's not every song, right? It's just a song that resonates with you. And so when people slow down and they're just like paying attention to these different signs and synchronicities around them, they pick up on them. But when you're,
Yeah.
but in our chaotic world, when you're running and doing and going and you don't ever slow down, you just keep running past those. So the tower moment that I was talking about, right? I'm a strong believer that you will get, because I got like two whispers about writing the book. And then the last time I heard something about Whispers Within Us that came from somebody that was talking somewhere, and I'm like, okay, I get it. You want me to move forward on this book, or you're going to give it to somebody else? I'm on it. I'm starting it now. So if you don't listen to the whispers, they'll be like, okay, you're not paying attention. We're just going to give it to somebody else. That's okay. So I always
Yeah.
tell people, like, if it resonates with you, pay attention.
Well, and look, I'm loving that you're saying this because I'm just thinking about my own journey as you're kind of sharing of how this happens to you. And if you're listening, please do not take my future book title. Well, share. I'm just kidding. But there is something that I always jokingly, but very seriously used to say I was going to write a book and it was going to be that God speaks to me in fortune cookies. Okay. And that's what I was going to say. Because I actually have had these, I guess you would refer to them as sign and signals, and they've been through fortune cookies for me. And I get them through all different ways. Like you said, I'm not always paying attention to them, and I have missed some along the way that I did not act on, that I was like, I really feel strongly that I'm supposed to do this thing, but I'm just like, maybe that I'll second guess myself, like, am I really hearing that right? Or is that true? Or whatever. But I'll never forget the most comical one I think in my own life is I can remember when I was in college. I got a fortune cookie. I can remember exactly where I was at. I was having lunch at a Chinese restaurant with my boss at the time. I was working kind of as an assistant for a nonprofit in our area called the Homeless Coalition. And me and him were sitting. I was probably about 20, 21, and I got a fortune cookie that said small things are about to get bigger. Well, what I did not know is that I was pregnant unexpectedly with my daughter, and literally a few days later, I found out that I was pregnant. Now, at the time for me, I thought my world was like, this was not in my plan, like, I wasn't expecting this. So now looking back, I'm like, "Okay, this is the greatest gift, unexpected gift that I ever got," but I wasn't really happy about it initially, okay? Like, I was like, "Oh, that fortune cookie was wrong," or it was right. But it was kind of like a sign I felt spiritually to prepare me for what was to come. And it's really interesting because recently I've gotten a few more fortune cookies, and I'm just sharing this because I feel like it's one of my signs that I'm spoken through to. And one of it was you will take a gamble and win. And there's an idea I have that I really am just waiting for the timing to come up. And then shortly after that, and this big thing that I'm have a vision about that I wanna embark on, that I've actually tried to, it just hasn't come to fruition yet. I got another fortune cookie that said, something about patience, like, "You just need to be patient in this season," was the gist that I got from it. And I was like, "Oh, dang." So I know that this gamble that I wanna take, that this vision that I have to create this thing is where I'm supposed to go, but I just need to be patient, and that is not my strong suit. I'm like, if I see it, I'm like, "Let's go make it happen." And then I'm like, "Wait, why didn't this work out for me right away?" And I just had to remind myself, how many times in life that I've had this kind of inkling of something so strongly that I know this is the direction I'm supposed to go in, but I've kind of had to wait. And every time it happened in that way, it's come to fruition. Maybe not exactly how I anticipated it. But as you're sharing all this things about signs or signals, and they in other ways, but fortune cookies are always my thing that I think about really obviously that's happened. Um, you know, comes to mind. So I don't know. I'm guessing this is what you're kind of talking about, these signs or signals, and it can be maybe from nature, things that you observe, or like you even said, audible whispers of this is where I feel like I'm supposed to go, but I just have to sit with it. I might not have the full picture around it. For you, you just put it in your phone and said, I know this has a meaning. I just don't know what for. And then a few months later, you're like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Well, and another one is a lot of people get downloads. I get downloads when I'm, like, sitting on my back patio just because my backyard in my wooded area is very peaceful. I've worked really hard at making it a peaceful area. I have lots of different animals that come in. I feed the crows, all the things. So, but a lot of people get downloads, and downloads are literally like little flashes of something that come to you. And I think a lot of people just kinda write that off as just their thoughts going through their heads, right? You don't have to get in a seated position and do the Om and meditate for 5 minutes. Go for a walk in your, neighborhood or on a path somewhere. Usually in nature is when your higher power gives you those downloads, but I love that the fortune cookies are your signs because I have to say when I work with clients and not everybody, I call it a little bit of the woo side, right? Not everybody has a little
Yeah.
bit of now they have very left brain, so they don't go there. They don't have that creative flow like the right foot brain does, and I totally understand that. And if they don't understand what I'm trying to tell them, I always say to them, I'm like, just pay attention and just see what comes of it. It might not be anything for you, and that's fine too. But once someone starts seeing some kind of signs or synchronicities or having some downloads, like your fortune cookies, they can't unsee them. They start seeing them
Yeah.
everywhere. They start hearing them everywhere. They're just like, "Oh, I overheard this conversation the other day, and it's totally something that I've been thinking of doing." Well, do it. That was your higher power reminding you you had that thought. Why are you ignoring it? So, you know.
Yeah. Well, how you said it's a kind of like, and I don't know about you, but I go through seasons where I'm paying attention more than I'm not. So just whoever's listening and you're like, yeah, I've never gotten spoken to in a fortune cookie or the woodland Box or, wherever it is, down audible download. Like I do think the more you pay attention to it, the more you do have things that come to you. And it's hard to explain, so you're probably doing a better job explaining this than I could explain it at my own experience. But there has been literally times, I guess you were referring it to a download where I have felt so strongly I've just started writing. And then by the time and I can even think about what, where I'm at in life right now today. I um pretty much a mental health counseling practice that I started and it's grown awesome. We get to serve a lot of people in our community, but I'll never forget the early days of it before it was just an idea. And it was a whisper, a random thought in my head. I remember I was at a crawfish bowl with my family and I was like, what? I wonder if they have, it was just a wondering. I wonder if they have, it was at the time a child and adolescent therapist in my hometown. Now, granted, I said I would never move back to my hometown, Kathleen. Was not coming back here. Okay. Now I've been back here for 7 years. But I remember I was like, I wonder. So I just started like looking, following the thread. And maybe that's another way to explain it. It's like one little idea. And so I'm like, I'm pulling on the thread to see where it leads me. Well, I remember it led me to looking that there was really a need for some services. And by the next morning, I couldn't sleep that night. By the next morning, it's like it all was just opened up. And it was like, this is the name. This is what it's gonna look like. I was drawing a picture. I was like everything, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I think I'm gonna have to move." Like, that's where I was at, like, totally not was what I was walking into before I even got back home for spending time with my family. And I just followed the thread, and I can tell you, when you learn to follow those things, then you're like, it's incredible. I mean, it doesn't mean it's not gonna be hard, but, like, I think about sometimes, like, what if I woulda never pulled on that thread and then received whatever it was that I was feeling called to do, and then actually took action on that thing, even though it was messy, not perfect action. I start to think about how everything else would have been impacted in a different way. And like you said, somebody else might have picked it up. Like, it may have went to somebody else, and then they would have done the thing, but it's just incredible that when you really are able to attune this is good for me to remember these things, like, when you are able to attune with this stuff, how it can really not only impact your life, but the life of, countless other people based off of what you're following. Just like for you, I'm sure you've worked with a lot of women to this point in the day that you've helped them navigate this transition in their life that they find themselves in.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that too, like, following the thread. That's the same idea, right? It's just worded differently. Yeah. And serving people and getting that out there like that, following that thread that you follow, you're right. Like, it would have been impacted very differently if you didn't continue to follow it, if you just, like, cut it off and stopped, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. How have you helped people? Like you said, there's sometimes left brains, and there might be people think listening to us to be like, these women, I don't know what they talking about today. This is a little woo, like you said. How do you get people that are a little bit more resistant or like you said, their brain just naturally doesn't lean in to whispers or hasn't been I think it's a skill, hasn't been, able to pay attention. What are some things that you tell them? I know one of them was nature, but is there any other things that you practically give them to say, here's maybe some things to do to help lean into what you may
so one of them is, like, when, you said something about writing before. A lot of people, that's how they come up with ideas, is just by writing. So even, like, journaling just a little bit in the morning or at night, it doesn't have to be an hour sitting in front of a tablet and writing things down, but just taking a few moments to write down a few things that happened during the day, good, bad, or otherwise. I usually tell people to start with good, right? Because we want to put your gratitude. Your gratitude brings you more of the good. And then go into it with the thought process of what could have been better today, that kind of thing. And then when people do that, when they're putting the words on paper, it helps them. And left brain people do a lot better with that, with writing stuff out, right? They're usually more detailed and they have lists and all the things, which is wonderful. So it just helps them get things on paper and then they can see it a little bit more and you never know what's going to come out. So I often tell some people to do a brain dump. And everybody's heard of this. They call it pages. You just start writing just to get stuff out of your head. Like if you have a really busy day, it doesn't even have to make any sense on paper. Just start writing. And sometimes things just pop up within what you're writing of stuff that you need to do or you want to take care of or you want to start. All the things just kind of come out. So writing's a
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and I've tried I go through different seasons where I'm probably a little bit more journaly than other people, but yeah, I'm sure do you journal a little bit, or is that not
Mhm.
really your
I usually journal in the morning because I do a gratitude. So,
okay.
and I only do 3 to 10, but then sometimes I'll write a few other things out if there's just like things in my head that I want to get out before the day starts because I don't want to deal with it now and I can deal
Mm,
with it later. So,
yeah, yeah, sometimes it's good. I mean, listen, I've even, like, wrote about stuff that I need to make space, so I need to get something out on paper that's frustrating me so that I can just move to the next thing that I need to be open towards, so okay, what are some other is there any other things that really in your work with the women or maybe that's been referenced in the book that you really try to encourage people to consider for their life?
yeah, I guess to have a practice, whatever that looks like. Is it going for a 15-minute walk every day? Is it journaling? Is it maybe meditating? Is it exercising? Exercise can be a form of meditation because you're concentrating on your breath work, right? When you're lifting or whatever you're doing. So I just have a practice of something. It doesn't have to be an hour practice. I mean, I know some people do a power hour in the morning and they'll incorporate like working out or journaling or whatever in that hour, but it can just be a 15-minute practice just to slow yourself down a little bit.
Yeah, okay, and that can be challenging, but I guess once you get the habit, whatever the practice is, once it becomes a practice, guys, which means that you have to practice at it for those of you listening. It's not like just a one and done and then we never don't wanna do it again. Because I think sometimes I don't know about you, but, like, there's days where I don't feel like doing it, but I have to practice at it even when I'm not feeling like this is important. And I often find that when I lose my practices, like I'm not practicing them regularly, then I find myself in a more lost space of like, oh, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Well, you haven't been doing this, this, and this." That typically helps support you and leaning into different things. So, well, what have you seen with the women, especially that you've worked with, that have really went through this process with you and that have learned to lean in? What are some of the outcomes that you've seen women be able to either reimagine in their life or be able to make possible?
I would say the biggest one is confidence. When they after I've been working with them for a while, I just see their confidence comes out, which leads to so much more. They are just more willing to try different things or, quit the 9 to 5 job because they want to start their own podcast. And they're like, I'm going to do this. I got the money saved. I got 6 months to try to make this happen. It's like I just see them grow in ways where I think if they weren't working with somebody, not ultimately just me, but working with some type of coach that can help guide them, they don't grow. They just sit in that what I call the drifting stage, right? They do the same things every day and they just watch their life go away. But they just get out there and live. That's probably the best way to say it is they just get out there and live. They live their lives. They stop staying stationary and being scared.
Yeah. What do you think causes people to be more stationary and just kind of, I like to use the word stuck sometimes, but I feel it's like they're just maybe on a hamster wheel or it's groundhog day. And I mean, again, I've worked on this mindset stuff and I can still get myself sometimes on a wheel that I'm like, oh, don't like this wheel, you know? So what do you think is the cost of not necessarily working, 'cause I think people have heard mindset, work on your mindset or work on reframing how you think about things, and I think there's some people that are like, "Oh, I know that maybe if I worked on this a little bit that things could change," but, like, they don't maybe always see the motivation or the cost of not doing some of this work or getting somebody to help us through.
I think when we say work on your mindset, it comes in so many different ways. And probably the best, most general for everybody to understand is okay, so like PMA, positive mental attitude. You can either walk around, and I call it kicking the cat, but you don't really kick your cat, people. But you don't way like you want to kick your cat, or you can find 3 positive things when you're having a bad moment. Because those 3 positive little things that you said, like, oh my gosh, the sun's out today, it feels amazing. Or I just got this great glass of water and it's hot out and I really need to drink this right now. I'm so grateful for this water. So when you start with small things, with mine as far as mindset goes, it grows. And so many of my clients that I work with, and I'm one of them, have limiting beliefs. One of my biggest limiting beliefs, which my 2026 is getting very comfortable with being uncomfortable because I was taught not to be seen and not to be heard. And so I don't like to put myself out there. And when I was a realtor, I hated putting my picture on things and putting myself out there. So with limiting beliefs, fear comes quite often. Fear is an emotion. We can work past fear. We can talk ourselves out of fear. We can breathe and get our nervous system regulated so we're not like so anxious about something. And I think a lot of people think mindset again is a little bit woo and mindset's not. Mindset is very logical. Like you can talk yourself in or out of something very easily. And when you have a lot of negative energy around you, sometimes it's hard for people. And that's when I talk with my clients. I'm like, you might have to put some boundaries up, even if it's family. You might have to put some boundaries up with that family so you're not in contact with that energy all the time. And you know what? Sprinkle your glitter and whatever, your positivity all over people because they may not like it and they might be like, what is wrong with her? But it's going to rub off on them. Positivity rubs off on
Yeah. How is kind of being around people that have a real negative vibe about them, a negative energy, how does that impact others over time? Because just the same way positive impacts, like, what do you see for those people that you work with that are just maybe have those people in their life that maybe are more in that negative mindset, and how do you see that impacting?
Yeah, it will bring. So when you're around a lot of negative energy, like gossip is very negative energy when you're talking about people that you don't even know the real story. You just heard it third hand and you need to hear it from the person, right? Then it's gossip. And it draws people in, right? And then all of a sudden everybody's talking about it. But if you can just be like, yeah, I don't really know what the real story is. I haven't talked to them and squashed that conversation and then turned it into something else. You can get away from that negativity. But one thing I always tell people, I'm like, you have to have an emotional toolbox, right? You have to have stuff in a toolbox. Used to have a friend. We no longer are friends, but she was always so negative, and I kept her in my life for quite a few years. But when I would go see her, I literally would put on a pretend hoodie and zip it up and then go in and have a conversation with her and spend time with her, whatever it was. And when I would leave, I would unzip the hoodie when I got outside the door, drop it on the ground, and keep walking. So anything she was like projecting at me, I wouldn't carry with me through my day because it's easy to take on negative energy, just like it's easy to take on positive energy. But I think some people have to work harder for that positive energy than others.
Well, and I would say too, I don't know if you agree with this, I think some people are more susceptible to the negative energy than others. Like, I've seen people that walk into situations where, like, maybe everybody in the room is a Debbie Downer, it's all negative. And I'm not saying that can't be a realist at times, people. I mean, like, there is a difference between being, a realist and a pessimist, okay? But you walk into the negative energy, and then they walk right out, and they're like, "Well, unscathed." They're still moving on in their life.
Yeah,
But I
right?
think those that are more, I don't wanna say attuned, but a little bit more susceptible to the energies of others. I know I would put myself in this bucket. There have been times when I've walked in, and I'm telling you, it will suck me down like a hot potato, like, it just takes it all out like an air deflating the balloon. And then it's harder for me to reframe and get back into what I would consider my normal state, which is a typically, mostly in the realm of positive. But what would you say to those people that are a little bit more energy sensitive? Maybe that's the best word to describe it.
That's exactly the word to describe it, because they pick up on energies and people suck their energy because they are more positive, and the Debbie Downers, like you said, they pull off that energy. I'll give an example. I always tell people to come from love and light. And I know, again, it sounds really woo, but my son, like a few weeks ago, went out on the highway, was driving somewhere, and he comes home, and he's all like cranky. He's like, people are idiots. This guy pulled out in front of me. I had to slam on my brakes and just, all this. And I said, sweetheart, when you get in a situation like that, just come from love and light. He goes, Mom, I do not know what you mean when you say that. And I said, you know what? That guy obviously was having a bad morning. Slow down, let him go by, let him get in the lane. You don't have to slam on your brake. Continue on your day. So the couple days later, he was going down the same road, whatever, and he comes home and he's in a super chipper mood. And I'm like, "Oh, you having a good day?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "So I was on the highway and I came from Love and Light, and then I hit every green light after that, and I got a front parking spot by a door." And I'm like, "Congratulations, you just learned that rather coming from I want to road rage you, and like, you're gonna give that guy some grace, take a breath and let it go, and carry on with yourself. You're just gonna get more of that energy back. The more positive and the more love and the more light you put out there, you're gonna get back." So when I say that to people, come from love and light, that's all it is put love and light out there. Every higher power, God, Buddha, the universe, the divine, whatever your higher power is. That's why I always say higher power, because everyone's got something they believe in, right? They are all the same thing. You put good out there, you will receive good back. Done. Everything else is what they follow. Everything else, as a Buddhist or God, that is what people follow. But you put love out there, you put love, light, you get it back. So
Yeah. Well, if people are like, "Okay, listen, I wanna kind of read a little bit more about listening to the whispers within us and being able to understand how to maybe give more love and light and also be able to be more attuned to their own energies and where their own thoughts are as well." Maybe you can tell listeners a little bit about how they can connect with you and then more about the book and where they can find it.
yeah, okay, so they can connect with me through my website, whisperswithinus.com. And as far as where you can get the book, there's also a companion journal that we brought out too. But the book and the companion journal are both on Amazon. And they are, the book itself, it just teaches people how to slow down, listen to the whispers, the signs, the synchronicities, the downloads, whatever they are, and goes into some different strategies for working past limiting beliefs and some mindset stuff. So it's a little bit of everything. I do use stories in it from my childhood and up. because I think it's important as humans when you can hear stories with something, it can help you understand it a little and relate to it a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, I'm a sucker for a story, and I learn so much through stories. I'm like, it's probably one of the things that I maybe underestimated for a long time how much I loved a good story, but then the more I've gotten older, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is how I learn. I learn through stories." So I love it when people are able to give their own story, and I'm sure it's a little bit of vulnerability about your own experiences, but I think that's when it helps us connect as human beings when we understand, like, we all are human beings and we all have our own journeys. They might look a little bit different, but there are some similarities in this human experience that we're all going through, and sometimes when you can kind of hear somebody else's story, then it makes you rethink about how can I rethink my story and where I'm at in this journey. So, well, Kathleen, we'll make sure that we'll link all that stuff up so that people can find you. I also did look at your website and it's beautiful, so y'all are going to need to check it out. But we'll make sure that it's linked there. But I do like to ask kind of my guest a question, and I'm curious, and I don't know if this would be childhood you or even 2022 you when you first read Think and Grow Rich, or maybe when you're going through that tower moment that now you help a lot of other women through. But what's one, maybe if you could go back and whisper to yourself, we'll go with the theme, and just whisper something to yourself that you felt that younger you would need to hear? What's something that comes to mind that you'd want to go back and
Oh,
try to communicate?
yeah, I love that question, and ideally is because I went through a, inner child, RTT session with somebody once, and you go back and you see different versions of yourself while you're under hypnosis, and it's so amazing. I recommend it to anybody. But anyway, I would tell my younger me, it's like, "It's okay, I got you," and the other side is amazing. Because when we're young, we don't know what to expect. Right, we don't know what
Mhm.
to take out there, and the journey is amazing. I'd probably tell her that journey's amazing.
Yeah, so keep going, keep going. Well, Kathleen, I just wanna acknowledge you for coming, not only taking your time today, and for those that are listening, she really worked through even some technical difficulties we're having to make sure that we get out of this conversation today, so I appreciate you continuing with it and, being able to come on the podcast today. But I also always, love to hear stories about people that went through their own maybe tower moments or hard moments, however you want to define that, and not only did they get to the other side of that moment and they did their own, I guess, self-discovery and listening within through that period of time. But then you're like, okay, I really feel like I'm supposed to also help and support other women that are going through similar situations find their way forward as well. So I want to acknowledge you for doing that. And then also doing the book, and not only that, but the reflection journal, because I know that's a labor of love and it probably took a good bit of time and really a lot of vulnerability to be able to create that, put that out in the world. So for listening to your own whisper to jump on that and do that. So, I appreciated having you today. And if you're listening, y'all know that we're gonna leave with something today. There's a lot of things we're leaving into, but I'm just gonna leave with what Kathleen said. And that is, I hope today, wherever you're at along your own journey, that you just come at it and come at your day through love and light, because I think that's all something we could all take in to our day. Until next time.
That's all for today on Inspiring Possible. If you found a little inspiration today, please go on over to iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen to leave us a comment and rate us. Also, make sure and link up with me at inspiringpossible.com to get the free Dream It, Write It, Do It workbook. And don't forget to follow us on social media and share this with anyone who needs to be inspired. Remember, if you can believe it, it's possible.